They have the $100 million brand. Internet sensation is a lot of people see themselves in his story.
The hardest thing was staying focused while being surrounded by people that are winning and crushing.
Bonjour et bienvenue dans ce nouvel épisode de Dynasty. Je suis très heureux d'accueillir Léon Aboud avec moi aujourd'hui. Une petite spécification, cet épisode il sera en anglais. Donc si vous voulez avoir le doublage en français ou les sous-titres, n'hésitez pas à cliquer juste en haut sur la petite roue crantée. Mon invité d'exception, il fallait faire un petit effort sur la langue. Car merci beaucoup et j'espère que cet épisode va vous plaire. Léon, nice to meet you. Glad to have you there. Thanks. Awesome. For the people that don't know you yet, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm Leon Aboud, founder and CEO of Unfungible. What we do is we help some of the top Web3 projects launch and build their community in Web3. Community building is our bread and butter. That's what we do. That's what we're passionate about. That's what we have experience doing even before Web3 was popular. So that's how we are servicing the brands that we work with.
You know, fully involved in Web3. May I know how did you enter in this industry and great ecosystem?
Yeah, totally. In 2015, I was born and raised in Lebanon. In 2000, when I was 18, I followed what the destiny of a lot of Lebanese people would be, which is traveling abroad for better opportunities. And I found myself ending in Canada to study in Montreal. And 2 years after, my younger brother joins me. And with him, he brings this idea, this small nugget, the small seeds that he plants with me called entrepreneurship. Back then, I was very corporate oriented. I wanted to work my way into a company. I was studying to become just that. And he brings that idea of entrepreneurship with him and he's like, Leon, watch this one video. It was Gary Vee. And that became the introduction that led him and myself into the world of internet money. And out of all the things that I dabbled in, I did some drop shipping, did some online marketing, affiliate marketing. I built newsletters. I tried everything. I was at a buffet and I was like trying to pick a little bit of everything. And then I fell on community building. And for some reason, it ended up resonating the most with me. I found the most pleasure, the most interest, and the most passion to pursue community building on the internet. So that became my thing for the coming years. And around 21, I, like a lot of people, started seeing this combination of three words being shared on the internet. News articles would come out. Your Instagram feed was full of it. And these were the words NFT, the one and only. So like a lot of curious people, I found my way ending on X, Twitter back then to try to understand, to try to see what is happening over there. And then I realized something. As a community builder, I noticed a community of people built around projects that were a couple weeks old, sometimes days, willing to fight and die for the community they were part of. And I, who had built communities of, at that point, hundreds of thousands of followers, over 1 million. The hardest part of my job was making people care about the community they were part of, that being mine. And seeing that how they were these communities in Web3 that were native to having that built-in trust and built-in buy-in from their community members. I saw that and I realized that as a community builder, my natural evolution in my career was going to be, how do I tap into this new opportunity, this new technology to build the next generation of online communities?
That's great that you pass from like the classic Web3 door NFTs or even meme coin, crypto to marketing, because most of the people think that the only way is trading, meme coin, DeFi, airdrops, and they forget about this part that you can also be a crypto guy but a real entrepreneur. And that's the most like surprising part of Web3. I think that sometimes there is a part of shade on this one and people ignore this one.
And it's the most sustainable way as well. Most people, they get into Web3 thinking that trading is going to make them rich. And for some, it does happen. But I think it's the most powerless way of trying to get rich, because it's like trying to get rich going to the casino. You could, the odds exist, but the odds are not in your favor. And I see the same with trading. Now, there is some technical analysis, there is all that, like there is a world for this. But the moment you get into the world of meme coin, all the laws of physics that make up technical trading get out of the door. So I almost see it as reassuring to know that there is the option of being able to take control of your financial freedom in Web3 by building business. Because for you to get there, all you need is a long road and patience made up of roadblocks and obstacles, but where you learn to become an entrepreneur, you learn to become a leader, you learn to become the type of person that can market themselves, attract the right teammates, attract clients. And I see this as the taking control almost of your destiny to go the business route versus any other path that exists in Web3.
Yeah, and also I remember seeing you on Twitter like with 100, 200 followers, like it's been like 1 or 2 years, and really the way you grow was impressive. Can you tell me like the importance of content creation in your business? Because I know that it brought you some nice opportunity, but also it took you where you are today and give you this authority. And can you let me know more, and also for people, why it's this important to create content in Web3? Because by my side and like my personal idea is that this is the most efficient way to succeed in Web3. You want to succeed in Web3, create content. You want to get a job in Web3, create content, XYZ, and either as investor.
I totally agree. The point you make is 100% right. And I'm glad you say that you've seen my brand grow and that you've seen the progress that is being made. And the funny thing is, man, the brand that I have isn't even massive. I've never had a viral post where you see these creators, man, they have posts that are like getting millions of impressions. Every second post they make hundreds of thousands of impressions. That wasn't my story as a creator. And I'll tell you why. There's a strong rationale behind this. So when I was building communities back in 2017 all the way to now today, but when I was doing it in Web 2, what I was doing was I was building Instagram pages. So I had a network of Instagram theme pages around the technology and engineering space, and I built what is a network of over 1 million followers on organic content. So I would take interesting things that were happening around the world, interesting things I was learning, and I would create content about this, turn it into a piece of content, and I would publish. And that very quickly became, to my surprise, one of the fastest growing engineering and technology community in the world. Now, the caveat is the audience was big and it was impressive, but the monetization potential was not there because I had built my business model, or I had optimized my strategy for views, likes, and impressions. Whenever I woke up in the morning and I thought, how will I make content that gets the most views? And views I got in the billions, but views do not equal revenue.
Yeah.
And I learned this the moment I tried to monetize that audience. I tried to sell courses, I tried to sell material, I tried to sell things I thought my audience would deem interesting and valuable. All that to say, it did not go as successful or as profitable as I had wanted it to. Today, I have an audience, arguably 0.1% the size of the other audience, but the revenue 1,000 times higher. Like I was, maybe we broke into the 5-figure revenue, and with the other, when I was monetizing the Web2 community. Today, Unfungible is a 7-figure business built entirely on my content strategy, on my personal founder presence. And the reason why I share this story with you is the path I took when I had the opportunity to do it again in Web3 was to go laser targeted on one buyer persona with one problem that they have purchasing power, and then you reverse engineer your entire content strategy to speak to that person. When you don't know who you're speaking to, you're going to start speaking to everyone. And when you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. And that is how I see a lot of Web3 content creators move about their lives. They're trying to make content that gets the most views. But when their goal is to make money, which is what everyone is in Web3, the breaking news is that is oftentimes not the best path for it. So I'm glad you say that you've seen my brand grow. And the way I stood out and I built a name in the space for myself was really by speaking on to a specific market segment on a very specific topic and positioning myself as the uncontested thought leader in that space. Even when no one was around, man, during the bear market. Time plus consistency is the reason why I have the ability to be on a podcast today with you, not someone else in that seat.
And it's great that you mentioned like your past journey with Instagram, because it's the perfect example that a loss and like can be a learn in the future. And that's great that you being consistent on this and didn't forfeit and surrendered the entrepreneur game.
It's interesting you say this. There was a point a year ago when I was scaling on Fungible. So I was quickly hiring. We had product market fit. And I go to one of my Web2 entrepreneur friends. He was very successful. He's making about 3.5 million per year. I go to him and we were having cigars actually here in Dubai. And I tell him, I'm like, here's my situation. I have a product market fit in a business that is quickly growing. Should I grow quickly and keep the growing machine turned on? Or should I pause the growth, make sure the systems are in place so that the customer experience doesn't change, so that people are still being delivered well, so that it does not affect the quality of our delivery for our clients? He looks at me, talking about failure. He looks at me, he's like, Leon, no matter what you do, you are gonna make all the same mistakes. The failures in customer success are gonna happen. The failure in product delivery are gonna happen. The failure in operations are gonna happen. You could either pause and make the time it'll take to fail and get the failure feedback longer, or you can scale quickly and get the learning lessons in as quickly as possible. When he said this, I looked at him and I was like, got it. That's
a great friend.
I got it. Understood.
Yeah, that's a great point, because sometime in Web3 we didn't have this capacity to stay consistent, to keep the mind in the business, and yeah, just to accept the thing as they are. You lost a trade, okay, next. You lost a client, okay, next. There is always more client and stuff, and that's the crazy part of the industry. And I love the fact that it's highly evolving, because every time when you fail, you have a time to get back on a new opportunity or either a new wave,
Yeah.
And yeah, that's the great part of the industry
100%.
and the journey instead. And also, just to get back on the views part and content part, sometimes a lot of people are focusing on the views as a metrics, like, okay, I don't have 10,000, 20,000 views, but if we check your YouTube channel, 800, 700 views, but they're qualified. And I want you to break down for people why they don't have to focus on views as content creator. Every time I tell the people views don't pay the bill, but they struggle to understand. And you're a strong guy. I think you can maybe put the pressure on them, explain them why it's so important to have this in mind.
I appreciate that. Thank you. The internet, the state of the internet 2025 it's never been more competitive. You're competing against millions of creators now that are trying to get the attention of the same people, the eyeballs of people. Everyone's trying to get views. As humans, we can only have relationships with a handful of creators. Think about yourself. You probably have a couple people that you look up to. You seem like an Iman Gadzi type of guy. You know, you look up to them. And then this other guy. And then there's this guy who is the car guy. And then there's that guy who I really like his fashion tips. And these are my guys. As humans, just like friendships, we can only have a handful of relationships with online creators. And the only way to have these relationships with people, or that these people can have relationships with us, is by bringing us into their world, by us knowing who they are, where they come from, how their life and experience reflects something that I'm going through. You know, the reason why Iman is such an internet sensation is a lot of people see themselves in his story, and his story almost makes people's dreams realizable. They look at them, they're like, if he did it, gives people hope. Gone are the days where creators can succeed having shallow relationships. It's like that one friend that you see once a year and they're just like, oh bro, how are you? Where do you live? Are you still going to that school? That's how most people are trying to have relationships with people online. That's when you optimize for views. You're going for shallow content that doesn't build depth and just builds, you're trying to have handshakes with a lot of people. The new age of creator is by developing a relationship strong enough where people cannot wait for your next video to drop, or they talk to you about you to their friends. And the only way to do this is to start thinking, how do I actually serve my client? How do I serve the person that is watching my content? There's a great quote: when people see you as a resource, they will want your resources. When you help people's lives, their day-to-day. For example, Web3 marketing. It's what I talk about. It's what people follow me for. I've gotten messages from founders telling me, Leon, this one trick that you shared actually saved me my mint. This would not have minted out if I hadn't implemented this specific strategy from the founder funnel. Thank you. When people see you as a resource, their life generally improves. They make more money, they become healthier, they become happier because you exist. They will want your resources. They will buy whatever you have to give them. And if the second part of this, man, and sometimes people will have to learn the hard way. I definitely have. I mean, the concept that I'm sharing isn't new, it's not novel, it's not innovative. I was just stubborn and wanted to play the game of views because I thought more like unreasonable. If you have 1 million followers, if 1% of people, 10,000 people buy your one product and you're a millionaire, you make the math make sense, but sometimes people have to touch fire to know.
Yeah, and as always, quality, quantity, and more in Web3, views, follower, and nothing, because only in Web3 we have this problem with like the fake followers. Either is you do only organic content, your followers are always not forced but boosted by bots and either like low value accounts, I named it like that. Yeah, and you learn it the hard way, as Leon just says. And in terms of content, like you do the preach of a content funnel and also acquisition funnel, which is the founder funnel. You made tons of video about it. Now people refer you on it. And fun fact, when I tap founder funnel on Google, the first results, Leon Aboud. And can you just also go deeper in this and to explain why also this funnel is important to implement, either if you're agency owner, Web3 freelancer, and or a NFT founder, whatever you want.
Yeah, that's my favorite topic, man. Founder funnel. It's over the last couple of years in internet marketing, I've seen a trend accelerate, which is the dominance of founder-led brands taking market share away from companies and brands that have no founder-facing figure. Think of Mr. Beast with Feastable. Think of Prime Energy Drink by the Jake Brothers and KSI. Imagine if I were to tell you, Tariq, that tomorrow you had to wake up and create a startup that is going to the goal is to take market share away from Coca-Cola, Hershey's, Nestle, all these companies that have monopolies on shelf space in supermarkets and grocery stores. Your goal was to go and take slowly 1 centimeter away from their shelf that they have dominated for the last 100 years. This is what we are seeing founder-led brands be able to do. They're able to disrupt established monopolies. And it's easy to think, Mr. Beast or KSI. But I'm seeing this at macro levels and micro levels. From today, my online behavior, the types of softwares that I use. So I'm a big fan of ClickFunnels. That's where our website is hosted. Anytime it's like ClickFunnels, I'm an avid ClickFunnels user. Why? Because the founder, Russell Brunson, he's been creating online marketing content and has been a resource for me as a growing entrepreneur. Therefore, I use his brand because it has more affinity. There are much cheaper options, like much cheaper, maybe much better, more customizable. ClickFunnels, Russell Brunson. And you can make the same argument. Pudgy Penguins is Pudgy Penguins because of who? Luca Nuts. So we're seeing this acceleration of that. And I foresee this trend not only to stay, progress starts slow and then it goes exponential. I see this only accelerating in the future. So today, if you do not have a founder-led presence, eventually you are going to be outcompeted by someone who has the same product as you at the same price that just has a founder-led presence.
That's fun that you mentioned this, like with example like Coca-Cola and stuff like that. Because by now in France, like the new trend is to be a concurrent of McDonald's. And in the last 2 years, the number of YouTuber artists restaurant is crazy. Like you have the biggest rappers in France that are launching their fast food like to fit with like the street culture, like the YouTubers that are all launching their burgers and stuff like that. And really the result and the effect was crazy. Line of peoples, and basically the goal, you cannot concurrence McDonald's, but from a fixed amount of time the goal was reached. And there is some example like that, like founder funnel is not only Web3, it applies to all the business. And honestly, you must must apply this if you want to succeed, push yourself, and really take what Leon is telling you like as a count, and yeah, don't have anything to add to this. Like just
I love your
try,
example.
fix, and let's go.
I'm so glad to see that even in micro markets like France, you have founder-led brands that are overcoming. Man, I was in Vegas last week for acquisition, which I know you wanted to chat about. But the Vegas airport, you see, man, the kiosk full of Kylie Jenner makeup, like all this new wave of brands that you don't see here in Dubai because it's not as, it's different sets of.
Here you have Huda Beauty and Kylie, which is two sisters, and they have their brand, the TV reality people, I think. And yeah, it's the same. Yeah, in every market, makeup, fast food, you see this, and
100%.
and that's crazy to see how you can go micro. And with this example,
I love this, man. I love this. I mean, so we spoke about the theory now, and do you want me to dive a little bit deeper?
Yeah, go.
Into why? Because I know you. If we're trying to drive this point home and make this the one thing that my hope is, if you implement this in your business, don't change what's working already, but take 10% of your resources and put that towards the founder brand and see your brand change forever. But the theory, so we just spoke about the practice, we gave examples. The theory behind this is the following. Marketing is getting more expensive by the day. There are more people going on the internet. There are more brands going on the internet. The first time I ran a Facebook ad in 2017, when my brother joined me and we started a dropshipping store together, the average CPMs were about $8. So it costed $8 to advertise to 1,000 people. Today, on Facebook, for the same audience, it was a US broad audience, CPMs are about $30. So a 3x increase in cost to advertise to the same people. We're seeing this happen across the board. The strategy of marketing, modern marketing, has shifted from a game of attraction to a game of retention. Back then, it used to be how many new customers can we acquire per month, quarter, year. Right now, the big metric that all my agency friends, again, the people that I was my friends from Web2 that have 7-figure companies, now the optimization event for them is, how do I increase lifetime value of my customer? How do I get someone that I only have to acquire once, even though they're going to cost me 2 times more to acquire? How do I acquire that person once, but then their lifetime value is 10 times more? It has become a game of retention. And personal brands by nature have better retention because the emotional connection that people have to the brand is much deeper. Therefore, people are willing to pay more when they have an emotional connection. They're willing to stay longer. They're willing to give customer service a chance because, it's like, this was a bad experience, but I trust in the person behind this. The founder brand solves for retention.
I know that on Unfungible, for example, one of the main service you're providing to Web3 companies at Twitter Spaces. I know that you do also strategy. Basically, what the business model of the agency, for example?
Twitter Spaces currently is our main product. The reason is very simple. We've realized that in Web3, the relationships most companies have with their audience is very shallow. People know that they follow this project, but they don't really know who that is. They don't know who the founder is. They have very little idea. Again, brand proximity is very thin. Very shallow. Twitter Spaces is one of the few Web3 native ways where you can make business and customers spend time together. Where you have a customer listen in and all of a sudden after 15 minutes, they now understand it's like, oh, that founder, that's how he talks. He is more of the loud type of person. He's more introverted. He has a small accent. And I really like what he said about the reason why they are building their platform this way because of decentralized AI. Twitter Spaces is one of the few native ways to allow brands and customers to develop a deep relationship. And our business model revolves around helping brands scale that. So it's one thing doing that once a month, and it's another thing doing that 3-4 times a week.
That's great. I love the way you built it because most of the agency in the space are like MRR, classical agency. We take a fix per month. And also I struggled with that. I didn't have a business model was outside the box. And yeah, when I saw the way you came, because for example, I have some client that worked with you or either Velo's founder that worked with you, and yeah, I saw the pack like he was proposing to the project, and I was like, wow, there is other way than classic our art to sorry for the accent, to do it in Web3. And yeah,
100%.
congrats for that.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
I know that you're still scaling it. You just get back from Vegas. You were at the headquarters of Acquisition.com, the marketing mastermind, Mr. Hormozi. You met him. How's a typical day first in like the acquisition camp, and just after, let's go deeper in like the Hormozi character.
Yeah, the Hormozi funnel for it's called the advisory division. So they have 3 divisions at Acquisition. They have the $100 million brand. That's the $100 million leads, offers, the books. That's the brand. Then they have the investment division, where they invest in brands and they take ownership. And then they have the advisory division, which are the workshops. Inside the workshop division, so inside the advisory division, they have 3 types of programs. They call them internally L1, L2, L3, and I'll tell you what these are. This is my second time at Acquisition. Last time I was in September for L1. And L1 is a 2-day workshop. It's called Scaling Workshop. It's worth $5,000. And what you do is they present to you what makes a company valuable and how do you increase the value of your company. Somewhere during that workshop, at the end of day 1, they upsell the room to L2, the second layer of program, which is, when I bought into it, it was $25K plus $5K for 1 seat. Today, interesting enough, the same program goes for $45K, supply and demand. So they've increased the price, and I've met people that had bought into L2 for $15K, imagine. So they have so much demand that they don't know what to do but to increase prices. Goals. L2 is similar to L1, however, it's more personalized. So this time we actually had an expert dedicated to that audited our business, looked at our current bottlenecks, our current constraints, and he presented solutions and recommendations to what we should tackle. And this is what L2 focuses on. It's something called the theory of constraint. So the theory of constraint says that in business, there are a million things you can be working on. There are so many things, bro. I could go and decide to update my website tomorrow. But out of the million things that I could be doing, what is the one thing that if I do this and only that, my business will grow? And the goal of this workshop is, how do you take a microscope and laser in on that constraint so you can overcome it? I'll give you an example. One of the exercises we were doing was it's almost like an exercise where you are auditing your business like a doctor would a patient. So it's like, what are the symptoms that your business has? And they give a hypothetical example where you had this one company where the CEO was the only one doing sales call because no one else on the team was good enough to do sales call. Then that's symptom number 1. Symptom number 2 is he was spending so much time doing sales calls that the product delivery started to be affected. Symptom number 3, he was doing so many sales calls that he wasn't spending enough time with any of the other sales guys to train them. So based on these symptoms of the business, what he needed is a sales manager to come in, remove him from sales so he can focus on product. So in this hypothetical example, that founder, whether he goes and work on marketing, he builds a personal brand, he decides to update his website, he hires a branding company, he could do these a million things. If he doesn't fix his sales bottleneck or his sales constraint, his business will not grow. So that is the theory of constraint. That's what we worked on. L3, because I did mention it and I'm sure some people are curious, L3 is the biggest upsell that they have, which is called Boardroom with Alex Hormozi. And that's when you spend a day with, I believe, a room of 10 to 15 people. You spend a day with Alex Hormozi in a boardroom. That one is worth $130K.
The amount you're mentioning, are crazy.
Yeah.
And that made me laugh when you talked about investing 25K, because it was in January. I made a tweet telling people that they rather invest in themselves instead of meme coin, because it will bring them way more money. And it got me like an outrageous number of people telling me to shut up.
Yeah.
and when you see like the people in the game as the people that investing the more in themselves, in course, in mentorship,
yeah,
and other, And yeah, it's the frustrating part of Web3 because people only know about the casino, but which is
Yeah.
other and satellite to this, they ignore it.
Everyone understands the house always wins when you go in the casino. But what if you were the house? When you're the house, you never lose.
Yeah, just be the casino or help the casino to bring more people or do more money. But people are always gambling, and that's the part I'm repeating myself. But it's frustrating that people don't have this in mind, and maybe the maturity to think like this above and outside the box.
It's imagine if you were facing a problem and you could have a vending machine that you press, and the moment you press it, the solution comes out and your life gets better. The thing is that vending machine is real. It's found in the form of books, courses, mentors, people who have lived your exact circumstances. The reason why I love books is that in one book you have the condensed experience of one person's life in a couple pages that you can absorb, that we have the privilege of absorbing in one afternoon sitting. And that's how I think about education. If I have a problem, my first instinct, if I have never seen this problem, is how do I educate myself about this? And usually if I cannot find this in books or in courses or videos, usually someone will have the answer for me. An expert will have, because they've been there. My circumstances are not unique. And I think the reason why a lot of people are worried and scared about investing in themselves, part of it is I don't think they believe in themselves, that they will make the most out of that investment. They don't believe that they will even take action on this. And that's where human self-limiting beliefs come into place.
And from all this investment and hard work, and also to conclude this amazing podcast, how do you see yourself, but also Unfungible, in like the next year? What's your vision?
We call it the Unfungible Standard, and that is continue to raise the standard of the industry by delivering the best products, best services, and best experience to everyone who comes in contact with Unfungible or any Unfungible products. That's my goal.
As a ritual, like to close my podcast, I always ask my invitees two people that they would like to see at this seat next time. Who would you invite?
Bro, that's unfair to by choosing two people, you are removing every other person. There's a lot of people I would love to listen to be on this podcast. I think someone that is deserving of that, of louder voice, is Alex's Building. I would say Abby from AP Collective.
Awesome. Yeah, he's also a great guy.
He's really good, yeah.
Leon, thank you for being here. Guys, if you want to work with Leon or Unfungible, and also to follow him on his different social, we'll put all the link in the description. Thank you guys for listening here. It's been very interesting. Don't forget to put a like and also a comment of what did you thought of this episode. Thank you for being here as always. And yeah, take care of y'all. Thank you, Leon.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. Cheers.